Welcome back. If you've not followed us on all of our social media platforms, now is the time to do that. Do not forget, it is our anniversary today. High Impact TV UK is one. Now, we have that conversation. The conversation we've been having this morning is Montessori method of education. Now, we're taking it up a notch this morning because I have my special guest here with me that is going to be breaking down some questions that I have on Montessori method of education. Her name is Bella Udin. She is a Montessori trainer and teacher. She is a graduate of the University of Cross River State, now University of Uyo. She studied history. She has a master's degree in educational psychology from Unilag, and she has a diploma in Montessori education. Good morning, Bella. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so now let's jump into the conversation. What exactly is the Montessori method of education?
Thank you so much. Montessori method of education is a very rich method of education developed by Dr. Maria Montessori. And for Montessori method of education, the main focus is the child. It is a child-centered education.
Yeah.
Yes. So everything, because she, as a doctor, she believes that that a child born into the environment has the ability to cope, to learn within the environment. And we want the Montessori education is not about career. It is a lifelong skill. So she was able to discover that through scientific approach and observation, that a child to grow from infancy to adulthood, there are four main planes.
Okay.
We have the 0 to 6 years, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, and 18 to 24.
All right.
Yes. And within the 0 to 6, it is believed that that is a period of the absorbent mind, when the child soaks in stuff from the environment, learns and adjusts into the environment and to the world at large. But the interesting thing about this concept is that the plane 0 to 6 is also divided into two. We have the 0 to 3, and that is a period of unconscious learning. You wonder how a child speaks a language. No parent sits the child down and starts saying, why is come and all that. And the child just soaks in whatever interaction he or she encounters within the environment. So it is good for parents, for teachers, for adults around to be intentional around the children, because it's like their life is like it's as if you pour water on a floor or in a container and you put a sponge in it. It just soaks in, it absorbs unconsciously what it is, what he or she is exposed to. So that is the 0 to 3. That is a period of unconscious learning.
Yes.
And the child needs to adapt into the environment, into the situation where he or she finds herself. So before you know it, the child picks up the culture, the language, and all that. And by the time the child is 3, moving into school, 3 to 6 is now the beginning of conscious learning, when the child is now, okay, is reasoning, I can do this, saying yes, saying no, I don't want this, and beginning to find his or herself. And that is just beautiful. You know, very few educational systems anyway adopt that.
Yeah, I was going to, place Montessori with other educational systems, especially, the traditional schooling that we have in Nigeria. What exactly is the difference? So while we're having the conversation before we came on, we were talking about how we now see Montessori everywhere. In fact, we'd see Bola, Montessori nursery and primary school. So what exactly is the difference? Are they the same thing? And when you see a nursery and primary school that is also Montessori, is it the same? Do they provide the same educational value?
Well, I'll say the goal for both types of school is to educate the child.
Yes.
It's just that one, I'm sorry to say, is richer than the other.
How so?
Okay, thank you. Maria Montessori also discovered that for the child to do excellently well to adjust within the environment. The child has the innate ability. So you have to guide the child to achieve this, to unlock the potentials that God has endowed that child with. So in the Montessori environment, you hear them saying, some people who don't know say, Montessori school, all they do is play. That play that you think the child I'm acting out is actually work, because the child has to reason. It helps enable them to develop critical thinking ability. It gives them grit, because in the Montessori setting, we have what we call the work area. And the Montessori has 5 curriculum areas. We have language, we have maths, we have cultural, and under the cultural studies, you have zoology, biology, geography, history.
For 0 to 6?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Practical life exercises and sensorial education. And so all this helps train, fine-tune, or let's say train the child's different senses, enables the child to adjust into the world through the cultural activities. Is it through the practical life exercises, which to the adult is the daily chore, but to the child, it is not, because the child needs that to survive, these skills to survive in the environment he or she grows in or finds herself. You know, so it exposes the children. You don't have to be, and the education is universal.
Okay.
The material that is used in Nigeria is what is used in China, is what is used in Europe, in all over the world. And she was also able to, you know, I don't know if time permits me, she was also able to discover that even in the life of the child, there are some universal characteristics of child anywhere, be it in Nigeria, be it in China, that every child wants to learn.
Okay.
Every child wants to be independent. So it's universal. Then every child needs the proper prepared environment to thrive. So it's a beautiful package, honestly.
Okay, let's talk about principles of Montessori education. What are they?
Okay, their principles, like I said, 1, respect. You must respect the child, because the child is the adult of tomorrow.
All right.
Yes. And like I said, I've also mentioned some of the principles. The child wants to learn. There's no child that is born that doesn't want to learn. So you must provide the platform for the child to learn, and the child will thrive.
Okay. Now, you know, before we started the show, we're having a conversation on the grading system for Montessori. A lot of people's fear is, they're not giving them hardcore mathematics. They're not doing this, they're not doing that. So I'm not sure my child can learn in that kind of situation. They're not writing exams, this and that. So how does it work?
Each school now has its own method. You adapt to your environment, you know what you want. So they're grading. Yes, there might not be examination.
All right.
But I must tell you that in Nigeria, quite a number of the Montessori schools do conduct exams for their
pupils.
Yes. Okay. But at the preschool level, they don't really do that. Yes. So the duty of the Montessori directress or the teacher is the most important of all is observation. You must be able to observe as a child is coming into your classroom. What does Bola know? What can Bola do? And by the time you expose Bola to all the 5 curriculum areas in the classroom, in the prepared environment, then the child will begin to thrive. So today, if Bola comes into the class and I see that she walks towards let's say the language area in the class and picks up language material, it's my duty to guide her.
Okay.
If she has never worked with that material, then I will introduce the material to her. Okay. I'll tell her what the material is and how to use the material. So she'll watch me. And as a directress, you are supposed to talk less so that you don't distract the child. The child will now observe whatever material I'm working with. Once I'm through with the presentation, I give Ola a try to take her turn. And you see she might work for 10 minutes and then you don't force it. Unlike the traditional setting where a child has to follow through, this period is maths. If you like, you cry. Do you understand? But they have the option to pick whatever they want to work with. They could work individually and they could work in groups. But because they have been taught or been trained on how to go by it, there's not going to be chaos. But when somebody comes and says they are playing, I must tell you that it's in a Montessori setting. You do not, because you were talking about maths, you do not teach in abstract. For every topic you want to teach in maths, there is a Montessori material for it. And in Montessori, we believe that you move from simple to complex. Yes. So to teach the concept of zero, there is a material. It's called a spindle box.
All right. Just
to teach a child zero, you must use the spindle and the box. And at the end of the day, all you are telling the child is zero means nothing.
Right.
Yes.
Oh.
We have, in the Montessori maths, we have the multiplication board, addition. There's nothing you want to teach that you just say, I'm coming to the class and teach in abstract. We have the didactic materials. These materials were designed specifically to teach particular things. We have what we call the direct aim and the indirect aim.
All right.
The direct aim is that, okay, like I said, let me mention the spindle box. It is a box with 9 partitions and spindles.
All right.
And these spindles, the box is numbered 1 to 9, 0 to 9. And you bring out the spindle. It looks like pencil, and you give it to what number is it? It says 1. This is 1. You put it to where 1 is.
Okay.
2 where 2 is. 3 till you get to 9. And the child will say, what about this? This is 0. 0 means nothing.
Interesting. Okay.
That is to teach 0 now. But you can also indirectly use the spindle to do some other exercises.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
So that is just it. So it's funny when people who don't know, they come and say, Montessori is about playing, is about this. No, it is not. It is a lifelong experience, lifelong skill that they acquire.
Yeah. Okay, so you said something about lifelong skill that they acquire, and the popular thing is by the time the child is done with preschooling, then you can now transfer them to traditional school. You were explaining that to me earlier on. How does it work?
It's funny because if you're in a Montessori setting, it's regular. You have the classes there, so you don't have to move to any, except if the child is just attending a Montessori preschool.
All right.
And so in the elementary or the primary school, it continues.
Okay.
There's Montessori primary, there's primary Montessori, it continues. And because the Montessori curriculum is loaded, it's not about how far but how well.
Okay.
Because if you look at the Montessori curriculum, let me think about, for instance, the language now. If you go to the primary school, there are maybe parts of speech. We have it in Montessori. So you cannot say at age 3, a child within the Montessori setting would have learned all the parts of speech.
Of course not.
And we have this, and it is coded in the sense that if you look at the Montessori materials, a lot of the wood materials are neutral color, not, but we have a few, like the Nobles cylinders that are painted.
All right.
And so moving to language, we also have the language materials with the noun. To teach parts of speech, we have the symbols for each part of speech. So when we were growing up, we were just told, the teacher will come to the class, today's topic is now. Everybody repeats after me now. And tell you, a noun is the name of a person, animal, place, or thing. But that is not the case in Montessori.
Okay.
we have the symbol for now. And, we have how the technique of teaching it. And then you teach it, and at the end of the day, the children will come up with their own definition of what a noun is after working with the noun cards.
Right. So it is more like allowing the children experience learning themselves.
In the Montessori setting, the children are active learners.
Right.
They are active learners, unlike the traditional setting where the children are passive learners.
Interesting.
They are much more involved. And earlier I was watching, you were discussing, she was trying to, the lady that stepped out was trying to talk about the importance of the hand. The hand is the vehicle that conveys the message to the brain. And that is why, because Maria, how did she come about it? She observed the children with special needs when she was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And she saw that they were trying to eat crumbs from the floor, pick breads and all that. And because she studied the works of Itard and Edward Segon, she saw that, okay, with Itard, he says that muscular exercise, training the muscle was good for the different children that he had. Okay. And so she married the two and began to develop her own materials. And at the end of the day, these children that were children of special needs sat for exam with the normal children, and some of them even excelled more than the normal children. So if those children can excel, then she said, wow, then if I bring this into the school system, then the normal children will also thrive better.
Yeah.
And so that's it.
Okay. So while we were taking the misconceptions on Montessori, we said something about people think the Montessori is just for privileged children, it's just for rich kids, it's very expensive. How true is this?
Well, it's not for privileged children, but I think if we parents also get our priorities right, parents go to parties every Saturday, you buy a shrebi, a shwara, 500, 300.
Wow.
Yes. It is prioritizing what your needs are, what you want for your children. I have seen one or two, I know people who, I met somebody who said, I didn't have the opportunity of going through this type of education, but I want it for my child.
Yeah.
Yes. He works at the park. You know what that means?
Yes, I do.
So he had to, one of the schools where I work with, and when they were like fees and all that, because he wanted to better his children's lot, he didn't want them to turn out like him. And I intervened. I told the school owner, why don't you have a talk with him? And the woman said, okay, ma, I'll tell my husband. Then the man came around. They said, this is the bill for the term. We have, let's say we have 12 weeks. How then do you want to pay? And he said every Friday he'll pay a certain amount. And by the 10th week, he had completed payment of his child's fees.
Wow.
Yes. So, well, if you say Montessori is expensive, it depends on what people actually think. It depends on the location. If you have a school here in Ilupeju is highbrow area.
Yeah.
So your rent is going to be different with that of somebody who owns a school at Iju or who owns a school at Lekki.
Sure.
So that's just it. So if only government can intervene or set up, have like even model schools, model Montessori schools, whereby these children can, when they begin to see the benefits, then they will now re-strategize and say, okay, maybe the money we are spending on more social days, we can invest in education.
Talking about model schools, do we have any in the country at the moment, or then let's use Lagos, for example, do we have free Montessori schools?
We do not have.
We do not have.
We do not have.
Wow. All right. I would like that you encourage parents, government, or stakeholders out there on this model of education.
Please, our leaders, parents, let's key into this. Montessori is very relevant. very, very relevant. It's not about teaching for them to just know. It is helping them discover themselves. God has given them the innate ability. There's something in each child. It is only through experiences like the Montessori experience that the child can discover what he or she has. Now we have a lot of graduates. We have seen doctors who have become fashion designers. We've seen lawyers who are into entertainment. But it would have been easier if they had gone through Montessori school. They would develop themselves, they would discover, because it helps you discover what's the gift you have. So please, government, invest in Montessori education. Let's even say for every local government, you want to have just one model school. Let's start with that. Let's start with that. And by the time you begin to see the reports, or, your officers begin to give feedback, then you'll know what to do. Montessori is a very beautiful, rich curriculum that brings about global citizens. You don't have to leave Nigeria to experience what is outside the country, because the curriculum is rich. Under the cultural aspect, you have geography, social studies, and you are going to be looking at, for instance, like we are saying, from age 3, which teach about the continents. Yes.
Interesting.
You teach the child of 3. We have the globe. The first thing you teach the child, we have the sensorial globe. First thing, this part is land, this is water. Water, 71% of land mass is water. The child takes it in. Because I talked about unconscious learning.
Yes.
Period of absorbent mind, 0 to 6. So no matter what you teach them, they understand it. Is it language? Wow. Look at children that are brought up in the barracks. They speak many languages.
Yes.
That is what Montessori said. Because sensitivity to order, sensitivity to language, to social skills, all is developed between these ages 0 to 6. And so you can imagine in a prepared environment where you have planned it, the materials are there for them to work with. If you go to a Montessori school, I'm sure if you ask a 4-year-old child there, tell you about the 7 continents.
Interesting. Bella, thank you so much for joining me this morning. You said you had a quote that you wanted to share with us on the show. All right, so we're going to read that quote and then we'll wrap up with that.
So, according to Maria Montessori, because for what we are going through now, I also forgot to talk about the peace education. She said, establishing lasting peace is the work of education. All politics can do is keep us out of war.
Establishing lasting peace is the work of education. All politics can do is to keep us out of war. But I thank you so much for sharing this insightful knowledge with us on Montessori education. We hope that as time goes on, we'll have more around and the people will understand the benefits that it presents. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Like she has thought this morning, the work of education is to talk about peace, and then all politics can do is to keep us out of war.